Hey Shark fans, it's Melinda Marsalis. Welcome to Heard It on the Shark. Heard It on the Shark is a weekly interview show that airs every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi. Then it's released as a podcast on all the major podcast platforms. You'll hear interviews with the movers and shakers in North Mississippi who are making things happen. I'll talk to entrepreneurs, leaders of business, medicine, education, and the people behind all the amazing things happening in North Mississippi. When people ask you, how did you know about that? You'll say, I heard it on the Shark. Musical credit belongs to Hill Country Blues guitar legend Gary Burnside and the late great Buddy Grisham, playing Long Way Home from their album Acoustic Brothers, which was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Hey Shark fans, it's Melinda with another episode of Heard It on the Shark. And today in Sun Bear Studio, I have with me James Storey. Now, James Storey is a person that you have probably heard of if you are from Northeast Mississippi. He is a very famous Ole Miss alum, an Ole Miss football player. You probably have heard of him from there. He coached at Ripley High School. He was the principal at Ripley Middle School for years, and that's where he and I got to know each other. I worked for him for about a decade or more when we were both at Ripley Middle School, and then he went on to complete his career there, and now he has retired, and he has stepped up as yet again a good community service person and become the president of the local chapter of our NAACP. And everything Mr. Storey does for his community is looking to help all people out, all the people who are downtrodden and need an extra hand. And so we know he's going to do the same with this. So, Mr. Storey, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thank you, Melinda. Thank Shark 102 for having me this morning. I'm glad to be able to come and take part in this interview and just let you know a little bit about our NAACP chapter that we have. It's 5348B, and that's our branch number for our chapter that we have. And so I'm just happy to give a little insight to the purpose, of our, NAACP. And if you'll look, the purpose and aim of our branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, is to improve the political and educational, social, and economic status for African Americans, not just African Americans, and other race and ethnic groups. So if it's just trying to, I guess, from my football playing days to level the playing field.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a picture out there floating around on the internet that has kids looking over a fence and one kid stepping up on a box, and the tall kid doesn't have a box to stand on because he's tall enough to see over without the box. That's kind of what that is.
Yes,
You're just
is.
giving somebody a stepping stone.
Right, and that's it. It's just trying to give somebody a stepping stone, just an opportunity to be equal, equality.
That's right. And like you said, for all groups of people.
Yes, ma'am, it is. It's, it was originated in 1909, and it was, when it was created, and it was created for, not just, black people, but it was interracial group, that actor group that created, the NAACP. And so, but it was, just so much that was going on at that time. We just want to make people aware of what's going on and see what we can do to help correct that problem.
How do you plan to, with this new position that you have as president of NAACP, how do you bring your community to that?
Hey, the main thing is just, letting people know that they can, become a part of the NAACP and, let people know what's available, what's out there. And so my goal is to, try to increase our membership. We need, in order to be as a chapter, we have to have at least 50 members, on the roll. And my voice, I guess, would be to them is, don't wait till something happens to get involved. Just go ahead. Let's get involved now. And we can. We're involved with voter rights. Just making the community aware of. You vote for whoever you want to, but the main thing is just getting folks registered. To vote, because that's the only voice that we have. So my thing would be to get folks involved. The ones that show up, they are the one that makes the decision. So get involved in your community.
to go vote is such an important thing. We are real excited in Tippah County when we have 35% voter turnout. So a majority of registered voters don't even bother to go vote. So I like that you're putting out there for people to get out and vote. And you can help people to register to vote.
Yes, ma'am. We can help people register to vote, absentee voting. Just make folks aware. Voting counts.
So let's talk about how do you become a member? Because you said you've got to have 50 people just to have a chapter, right? You got to keep that. Yes, ma'am.
You have to have 50 people on the road. If you want to join any time of the month, you can, because we can keep an active number on the road. Also, if you have like a grandchild or have a child, means from say 6 months to 13 years old, they can do it once in a lifetime. They can pay $100 and be a lifetime, become a lifetime member of the NAACP chapter. My goal is to try to get our youth involved, to have a chapter. And I think the earliest that we can get them involved, the better, because we won't have to wait till they're 18 or 20 or so to try to encourage them to go and vote. If they involved younger, then they'll, go ahead and register.
That's right, because once you turn 18 and you're cut loose to go vote, you need to know what you're voting for and who you're voting for and what it means, because we get to vote just about every year in Mississippi, don't we?
Yes, right. Just about every year. Yes, we'll have either a midterm or a primary election or, supervisor or city election, most of the time. And, and a lot of folks, and another thing I want to encourage the ones that are registered to vote, if you move from one precinct to the next, please go and change that, change that precinct, because we won't follow up, we'll move or something. We won't, go back, we won't register to vote. It's really important, that we do that.
Yeah, and I will tell that I moved to Benton County recently, and I vote every time that I'm allowed to vote. But when I moved, I forgot about moving my registration. Well, so I'm up here on the square, and so my circuit clerk brought me the form and then turned it in for me. I had to have help myself.
Right.
I needed a stepping stone because I just could not remember to go change my voting precinct, but he wanted me to be able to vote in my new place, so he helped me get it moved. So that's the sort of thing that your chapter is doing, is helping people remember, helping them know where to vote, where to go, how to register. It's not easy. Right.
No, it's not. Especially, it's just something now with today's technology and doing it. It's scary a lot of people, especially those my age. We're not technology savvy, and so we don't, and just about now everything is either posted on Facebook or, we just don't take the time to talk anymore, okay?
Right. And so you said if you're under 13, you can pay a one-time fee, like your grandmama or your mama could sign you up so that you have a one-time fee of $100. What does it cost an adult, somebody over 13?
Like say for any, it's $30 a year, okay, and that membership is good for 1 year. You receive your card, and like I said, we have a monthly organized meeting that we try to come and it's not to come and we just come and talk about issues that's going on in our community. What can we, who can we help to improve?
You meet once a month in Ripley?
Yes, we do. We meet once a month in Ripley at St. Paul United Methodist Church. We thank them for opening our doors for us, and we usually meet about the third Tuesday of each month. And, and like I said, we have pretty good participation, but we would love to have a whole lot more.
And Shark fans come from all over Northeast Mississippi. So if they aren't in Tippah County, how should they find out if they have a local chapter?
Well, usually they can just, check with the, NAACP, the state NAACP office, and as far as which county, that have one. I know Union County does, and Lee County, and like I said, we just got back active the last, 2 or 3 years, and like I said, but, I can remember growing up, the NAACP was very, active and getting a lot of things done, here in Tippah County, and, just the role that they play, now the baton has been passed on to us, and, and we're not getting any younger, the group that we have. So we would love for some of our young individuals to step up and, and be willing to make a difference, because, this is our community. It's home to me, and I cherish it a lot, just growing up and seeing all the changes that have been made and just the different folks that have support Tippah County. It's one thing that I've learned just about on every branch that I'm on, or everything that I participated, it talked about the giving, the caring people here in Tippah County, and they are. It's a lot of good people, a lot of good people here in Tippah County. And I'm proud to call Tippah County my home, but I know it's still a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah.
And and I know that we can make a bigger difference where everybody get a chance to come to the table. And that's the main thing. That we can get everyone to the table and on the same page.
Well, you are the perfect person to revitalize the NAACP chapter here because everybody knows you, everybody trusts you, everybody loves you. And so I'm really glad to see you in that position and what you're going to do there.
Thank you, Melinda. And I just want to thank Shark 102 for having me today.
Okay, Shark fans, that's it for this edition of Heard It on the Shark. You can tune in every Tuesday at 11 a.m. to find out what's going on from other local community leaders like James Storey. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for an interview, or if you want access to this interview, you can go to our website, shark1023.com, and click on the podcast tab. Keep it tuned to the Shark 1023 and have a great rest of the day. This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com.